Darkcast Network. Indie pods with a dark side.
I'm Dawn,
And I'm Cole.
and Scottish Murders is a true crime podcast dedicated to people from or living in Scotland.
Just like anywhere else in the world, these murders can be truly horrific and shocking, and we want to shine more light upon them.
Join us every 2 weeks on Scottish Murders, where we'll bring you cases both solved and unsolved, giving you an insight into the other side of bonnie Scotland.
Find us wherever you stream your podcasts, as well as on social media.
Join us there. Bye!
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot. Hey, y'all, welcome back to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey, you. With
Hey.
me as always, Dylan.
You can't get rid of me. I swear you was trying to shake me when we was in the store the other day, and I found you. You was trying to get me lost.
I don't have to try, bud. I just look up and you're like someplace else.
Well, no, you move quickly amongst the aisles. You'll cut left when I think you're going right, and I think you're doing counter surveillance moves because I'm pretty sure that you're trying to lose me, and you do it very well because I get lost.
Well, I do have certain maneuvers that work for me. So, Secret Service, if you need a better employee, call me.
Yeah,
I'm really good at, strategery,
she's good at strategy.
tactical stuff.
She is. She
Yep.
can lose her husband in a heartbeat in Walmart.
Yeah.
I'll be like, meet me by the toilet
But then
paper.
still keep my eye on him and know where he is.
I'll be like, meet me by the paper products. I'm going to go grab this. You go grab that. Meet me by the paper products. And I get back there and you're nowhere in that area.
That's
But
not
then
true.
while I'm looking for you, panically looking for you.
You're panically looking for me.
You pop up out of nowhere. Like you've been watching me look for you. It's bullshit.
It's a fun game we played, Dylan. But enough of that. We are here to distract you
Yeah,
from all that is happening in the world.
that's right.
I can't watch anything these days, Dylan. It makes my head hurt.
No, and it's not just the recent event.
My brain hurts.
It's all of it. I can't. This CERN reality we live in, I don't like it.
I did read an article earlier about global warming and how it is speeding up time.
Okay, well that explains it because I told you I've been losing weeks at a time.
Well, it's only like a millisecond or something,
Oh, I see.
but I don't believe it
So, okay.
because it seems like time's going by very quickly.
Yeah. No, it's going by way faster than a millisecond. And I will, off air, I want you to explain to me how global warming is affecting
Well, I
that.
sent you the article, but I
Well, I
guess that
haven't-
means you didn't read it.
I was at work.
Look,
This job expects me to
I
work
was
the
gonna say,
whole
look,
time.
your job is ruining our life.
It's ridiculous. I've never had a job where I'm expected to work the entire time. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, it really is.
All right, Dylan, I'm here to distract you with some true crime away from your complaining. Are
Oh,
you ready?
Okay,
to
let's.
get into the second installment of the Dayton Strangler.
Yes. Remind us where we're picking up.
Okay, well, I will remind you, but first, we have some business to take care of, Dylan.
Oh, wow.
We have some patrons who sponsored today's episode, and we have to give them a big shout out.
Hi.
We have Beth,
Hey, Beth.
Buffy,
Buffy.
and Fancy Pants.
Fancy Pants. Great names.
Yes, so thank you for sponsoring today's episode.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all the other listeners and patrons. You guys are our world. You really are. If I had a
Aw.
Facebook profile, I would be like, Mountain Murders listeners and patrons are my world.
With a heart.
Yeah,
All right. And like a little globe icon.
of course.
Oh, that's cute. Well, Dylan, with Donna's murderer at large, the city of Dayton remained on edge. Moses Markowitz, age 61, and his 49-year-old wife Mary moved from Covington, Kentucky to Dayton in June of 1907. Despite the murders of young women in the area, they were fully aware these crimes were happening. But they needed to get to a new spot. They were looking for, work, the American dream.
Yeah, and these it doesn't surprise me. These types of murders have really has the entire area on edge because they are so brutal.
Well, the Markowitz had 3 daughters, one of which had already been in trouble with the law due to unruly behavior. Moses was offered a job and living arrangements, making the move to Dayton worth it for his family. Moses and Mary had met in Poland around 1871, then immigrated to the United States. 3 older children lived independently, so 3 younger daughters were the only ones remaining in the home. Yiddish was spoken in the house, but the girls could speak English. But Moses and Mary mostly spoke Yiddish.
Yeah, and I think that's common in these, what would you call it, first generation
Yeah.
immigrant homes. You have the children oftentimes are the interpreters for their parents, and not only in language and, just simple business throughout their day, but also to the culture. They help them understand the culture better.
Is that so?
That's what I think.
Is that
I don't know.
Is that your explanation?
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And then the little the kids could translate that to their Yiddish parents and tell them what I said.
While Moses worked, Mary stayed home to tend to their daughters. However, she suffered from a variety of illnesses, including hysteria at times. Def Leppard was singing about hysteria.
Now, is that a real thing, or is that one of those made up things that they used to just say women had when they didn't want to hear what they say?
Yeah,
they
that's
were saying?
pretty much how you treat me.
No.
When you tell me that I'm suffering from hysteria.
Well, no.
Because you fucked up and then I'm getting on to you about it. And then you're like, oh, you're just hysterical.
That's your histrionics acting up.
Yeah, see?
No, I don't do that. I don't gaslight you about your emotional state.
Yeah, you do.
No, I accept responsibility for my actions, and I quietly listen to you as you admonish me.
Yes, hysteria is one of those kind of made-up illnesses that I think was placed or put in place to cover a variety of things, whether it be like depression or maybe some sort of mental illness or just simple, frustrations maybe.
Yeah, and for some reason, only women could catch it.
They could catch hysteria, yes. She had little stamina and often left chores to the daughters. Maggie attended school while Bertha, having completed school, was seeking work. Anna, who was the older daughter, remained at home to cook and clean for the family. She cared for their mother, Mary. Bertha had become a problem for the family. She liked to, quote, roam the streets.
Oh, gosh.
Bertha was pretty and got a lot of attention from men, which she devoured. At 15 years old, she had eloped with an 18-year-old whose friend had pretended to be her father.
Oh, and so he gave permission.
Yes.
Wow.
The Markowitz family hired an attorney to have the marriage annulled. Bertha was then placed in a home for girls and labeled an incorrigible child by the courts.
Wow, so they were able to get her back and nullified, how do you say it?
An annulment?
Well, they stopped the wedding, yeah, or they annulled it.
Well, I'm assuming they nullified the marriage.
The
Yes,
nullified,
that would have probably
okay.
been the correct term, Dylan.
So they've gotten gosh.
You are just a mush mouth bitch today.
Yeah, I'm a so mushy mouth bitch. They got her back.
They got her back.
They got her back. Let's just leave it at that for now. Let my brain catch up.
Anna was shy, but dreamed of meeting a nice man to marry, settle down, have a family. Bertha was happy to take Anna around town to meet young men. One of their favorite spots was the Lakeside Amusement Park. It was during a visit to the park that the sisters met a young man named Abe Cohen, a traveling shoe salesman. And his real name was actually Abe Gordon, but he was going by the name Cohen, and I'm not sure why.
Do you think that sounds cooler?
Maybe.
I think Gordon's all right.
I think Abe Froman would have been a great name, and he could have told people he was the Sausage King of Chicago.
Abe Froman?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm Abe Froman.
I don't know the reference, but I still
Ferris
think it's
Bueller's
funny.
Day Off.
Oh, okay. You're taking it back in the day on me.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, Abe, a traveling shoe salesman. Now, I wonder how that works. Do you have a catalog and you go around showing or do you have a suitcase full of shoes?
I bet he has a sample case.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, commonly, it was common for salesmen back then to have actual samples, not nice little case they kind of unfold and do the little presentation. I remember even when you went in the shoe store, they helped you. They would size your feet. They would help. I mean, it was quite a bit more. It was almost more like Al Bundy being a shoe salesman than what you have nowadays, where they kind of just sometimes they're helpful, sometimes they're not.
I just want to be left alone in the shoe store.
But yeah, I mean, they would fit you.
I don't need someone to size my feet.
But hey, if your mama tells you you're going to get shoes, you got to go in there. You don't get to tell. See, back then kids didn't give their opinion on anything that was happening.
They didn't?
No, you look, I was thinking about this the other day.
Look, I gave my opinion on what was happening when it came to shoes, okay? From a very young age, I had a lot of opinions, Dylan, on the shoes I was planning to have my parents purchase for me.
Right. So I was at a splash pad the other day with my stepson because he loves the water and the hot sun. And I saw these parents asking the children if they were ready to go, right? Are you ready? And the kids are like, no, 5 more minutes. And their parents, you could tell they probably had things to do or, errands or dinner. And it's like, okay, we'll give you a few more minutes. Not a single time did my mom ever ask me if A, wanted to go somewhere, if B, was ready to go. I was told these things.
Yeah, and look how you turned out.
I turned out I'm a fairly functional, almost an adult, right? Almost.
Barely functional adult, yes.
Yeah, together, me and you are almost a functional adult.
Yes.
Yeah, we're like 2/3 of a functional adult.
I asked my child, are you ready to go?
Yeah, see.
If you're having a good time, we can stay. I mean, if we have to get on someplace, I'll be like, hey, bud, we got to wrap it up. We got to be out of here.
So you will direct them.
But if we're just, having a casual afternoon out, I'm going to ask, hey, are you ready to go? Are you still having fun?
Yeah.
I'm not trying to tear you away from a good time.
I like to shoot them down. I like to dash their dreams.
Yeah.
Right when they're really getting into it, I'm just like, ugh, let's go. And then we go and we don't even do anything. I just shit on their dreams, bro. And I'm preparing them for life.
Yeah, that's kind of how our marriage works, too.
Well, I'm preparing
having a good time, you just shit on it.
That's not true.
It's totally true.
No, I'm not like
It's
that.
usually just you shitting on it because you get drunk and act like a buffoon or something.
Well, that happened before. In the past, that may have happened a time or two. Man, if you feel embarrassed.
Time or 12.
If you feel embarrassed about just thinking back on the evening before, like the next day, you got to chill out a little bit because it's not a good look. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard of people that felt that way before.
Yeah.
I've never felt that way myself.
Okay, it's time for you to shut up and get in the car, Dylan. We're leaving.
See, you didn't ask me.
No more.
I don't drink like that anymore.
We're not talking about you. Why you got to make it about you? We're talking about the Dayton Strangler. Can we get back to this? You just wake up every day and look in the mirror and think, how can I make this about myself?
I do. I'm not a narcissist.
Are you
See,
sure?
you got me talking about me again.
See, look at you.
I'm going to allow you to continue with the story.
On Sunday, August 11th of 1907, after dinner, the trio went on a walk at nearby McCabe Park. So this is Anna, Abe Cohen, not to be confused with Abe Froman.
Hey, are you Abe Gordon? Oh, no, sir. I'm Abe Cohen.
And little sister Bertha. So they go to McCabe Park, which had a reputation for being a rough and rowdy spot. As you remember in episode 1 of the Dayton Strangler, we talked about Ada Lance. The park was just a few blocks from her home.
Yeah.
A lot of drunken shenanigans.
Sounds like a pretty dope-ass park.
Dylan getting rowdy, maybe some gunshots, guns, people firing their guns like they're AC/DC.
Some public urination.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah, shenanigans.
Just the all-around shenanigans.
Right. Well, they decided they're going to go on a walk at this park. Abe reassured Anna they would be safe. She had reservations about going to the park.
She'd heard about this park before.
Yeah, and she's kind of shy, maybe not the most adventurous. Bertha, on the other hand, she's the outgoing sister. She's down for adventure, down to elope, down to be an unruly child.
She's down with the sickness.
Yeah, exactly. So Abe reassures Anna they're going to be safe, and he led the sisters to a dark, secluded spot near a grassy area where there was a large beech tree. After sitting down, Abe started to embrace and, just do some general smooching with Anna.
Oh, man. Who wants to be the third wheel along for that?
Well, he's trying to get fresh, as the kids say.
Have you ever been in this situation? I've never really been the third wheel, but I don't think I would like it.
Oh, I've been a third wheel before.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it?
I made myself scarce.
Oh, you just, oh.
By like, wow, look at this. It's dark, but look, you can see a bug over here. I mean, I'm going to go check it out. I don't know.
Who just starts like making out like right beside people?
People?
Gosh.
Sluts?
I could never do it with someone else in the room.
My slutty friends?
Could
no,
you?
I don't. No! It's not going to work for me.
I don't want to hear, smell,
Ah,
see.
smell.
Well, look, it's all the senses. I don't want to touch. I don't want to feel. None of that. I don't want to know what your fuck face looked like.
What?
Pardon my French. I don't want to hear any of
Gosh,
that.
You managed to ratchet that up, didn't you?
Shit just got real.
Well, while they're over here, getting some smooches, it sounds more like maybe Anna was just kind of being awkward and this dude was trying to sniff her neck or something.
Now, I could watch somebody crash and burn. That's fun.
So Bertha is sulking because she's the third wheel. So as you said, she's not happy about this. She was kind of hoping maybe she would get smooched up.
Maybe it's making her hot. Maybe she's a voyeur.
Why you always gotta be weird?
I don't know. That's how humans are, baby. This is real life. This is real life you're telling us about.
Well, if you'll shut up, I'll finish telling us about it. Suddenly, they heard a loud crack. Bertha said, "Someone shooting a gun."
This old Wiley Park.
Abe stood up, looked around, but didn't hear anything else. He told the girls it was not a gunshot. But no sooner than he had spoken, another shot was fired. Abe started running down the path with Bertha behind him.
See, he was trying to downplay it so he could keep trying to smooch it. He was trying to get some smooches.
Yeah. Anna, sensing someone was behind her, turned around. A stranger in the darkness grabbed Anna by the neck and threw her to the ground. She began screaming. After a struggle, the assailant finally overpowered Anna. She was beaten, strangled, and raped.
Oh, my God.
Abe had been shot. So as he's running away, Bertha following him, she finally catches up to him and realizes he's been shot in the chest. She starts crying for help until neighbors gather under a streetlight to tend to him. Seconds later, Bertha runs back to tell Anna what happened, only to find her body lying face down in a slight ravine next to a bridge not too far from where they had been sitting.
My God, what a crazy scenario,
She could see Anna's face was beaten and bruised. Crying out, Bertha got the attention of a nearby crowd, who then called police. In a matter of minutes, a patrolman had arrived carrying a lantern. By now, a crowd had gathered around Bertha and Anna. Anna's clothing was ripped, her dress raised above her hips, and her face was bleeding from multiple cuts and scratches. Bertha had to be pulled away from her sister's body. I mean, she was hysterical.
Well, I mean, how could you not be? 1 minute you're just kind of, Bertha's probably like half bored. They're, dude's trying to put the moves on her, on Anna and all that. And just the next minute, your whole world's been torn apart. And he's shot. She's been raped and strangled to death. I mean, gosh, and it's dark.
And it's just a matter of...
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like it's very long at all. Like just a matter of a few minutes, right?
I mean, gosh, how traumatic would that be?
Abe's body was loaded onto a trolley and ushered away to St. Elizabeth Hospital. In the meantime, Mary Markowitz returned home from dinner. They had been having dinner with their landlord, and she found that her daughters had not returned home. Their curfew was 10 p.m. They were supposed to be back from the park at 10. She went to her sons, Harry and Jacob, and asked if they would go fetch their sisters. So the two older boys, they're grown men. They don't live at home anymore, but mom's asking, hey, will you go find your sisters? So they go out trying to search around,
In the dark.
thinking they're going to find their sisters smooching.
We have to remember the time period. That, everything's not illuminated at night. There's basically darkness everywhere.
So the Markowitz brothers took a trolley to Lakeside Park, which was about a 30-minute ride. On the way, they overheard a conversation about a shooting at McCabe Park. When the men arrived at Lakeside Amusement Park, they walked over to McCabe Park to join the crowd that had gathered there. Harry Markowitz saw his sister Bertha sitting alone in the police wagon and sensed the worst. By now, Jacob had elbowed his way down to where a body was lying in the weeds. He could see it was his sister Anna. Bertha was taken into custody while the brothers hurried back home to tell their parents what had happened. Moses didn't want to upset his wife, Mary, so instead he joined Harry and Jacob on a trolley to head to the police station. As Moses spoke a little English, his sons did most of the talking. Harry and Jacob were placed under arrest immediately.
Why?
I don't know, Dylan. It's a strange turn of events.
And this is the last thing the parents probably expected. I'm sure they were aggravated that their daughters weren't home. It's dark outside.
Well, the mother, Mary, doesn't even know what's going on.
Right.
No one's told her what's
Gosh,
happening.
She has no idea what's happened.
No.
Wow.
So 3 of the Markowitz siblings sat in jail under suspicion of murdering their sister.
That doesn't make sense at all.
No. They were held in separate areas, unable to communicate with one another. Shortly after midnight, the coroner, G.R. Schuster, and a newly elected sheriff named John Bowes, who was a former Dayton police officer, and a court bailiff arrived at the crime scene. Donna Gilman's case was still open and unsolved, which reflected poorly on the coroner and the sheriff's department. The sheriff ordered Lakeside Park's private guards be stationed around to protect the crime scene. Someone suggested bringing in bloodhounds, but the sheriff said that could wait until morning, not knowing that within a few minutes, rain would begin and continue throughout the evening, erasing any scent the hounds might have detected.
Man, why? And if you have the resources available, why in the world would you ever wait for bloodhounds?
Well, the sheriff would be criticized for not acting quickly.
Yeah, I mean, especially given the circumstances of the attack and all, you know where it happened at. Right? It's not like you're wondering where it happened or if this is really the crime scene. You know all these facts.
I think it just shows how ill-prepared, even though they have had 2 murders.
Yeah.
They still don't really know how to get a handle on investigating or getting control of the crime scene or what the next step should be.
No, and this could just be inexperience from the new sheriff-elect, right?
Anna's clothing was wet, muddy, and torn. Her dress was pulled to the waist, underwear pulled down, and her tights were shredded. Her face was bruised as she'd been hit by the assailant. The skin around her neck had numerous cuts and tears, the results of fingernail cuts and choking. Her hat was missing, as were a few undergarments. It appeared she had fought her attacker, and they could not find any bullet wounds on Anna's body.
I agree with the assumption that was made early on in this case that the attacker is a very strong individual.
Immediately, the press began drawing connections between the Gilman case and Anna's murder. A man named Frank Allen, who lived within a short distance of the crime scene, told authorities that he'd heard 4 gunshots. One bullet was found lodged in the beech tree where Anna had been sitting with Cohen, and one was found in a fence near McCabe Park. 2 bullets were lodged in Abe Cohen's chest and stomach. Allen claimed to see a black man in the vicinity that night walking along the path. So that's like, we've had multiple witnesses report seeing a black man.
Right.
In and around the crime scenes. Cohen was interviewed as he was being prepped for surgery. He claimed not to see the man's face, but only noted that the shooter was wearing a black suit of clothing and a black hat. Surgeons removed a .38 caliber bullet from Cohen's back, the shoulder, where it lodged after passing through his nipple.
Damn.
The second bullet was lodged in his intestines. Surgeons informed law enforcement that Cohen would not survive. They would be unable to remove the bullet in his intestines and that it was going to kill him.
Yeah, I would say even nowadays in the modern era, that's probably a difficult surgery.
When Schuster arrived at the Markowitz home, he realized that Moses had not informed his wife about Anna's death. The three siblings were not faring well in jail at all. Bertha was refusing to eat. Harry appeared to be on the verge of a breakdown. Jacob was the only sibling that seemed to kind of have control of himself while incarcerated.
And here's poor Moses. He goes down to the police station with his sons, to kind of try to figure out what's happening. And they throw them in jail. He doesn't really speak the language, right? And he's probably just at a loss as to what to do. And then he gets back home and realizes his wife
doesn't even know.
Doesn't even know that her daughter's been killed and her other children have all been put in jail.
Yes.
I mean, what the hell? What a turn of events.
And they don't really understand English well enough to
know why
or to ask questions.
And I'm sure they didn't. Nowadays they have interpreters available usually that speak multiple languages. You're more than likely someone can help you along a little bit. Back then, I would say they don't even give it a second thought.
Harry didn't understand why they were being held in their sister's murder. He kept telling police, just go talk to Bertha and she can clear things up.
Right, and that's a good point.
Which police thought, well, he knows something that he's not telling us. Because if he knows the sister knows something, why isn't he telling,
Right.
But he really didn't know, and he was saying, well, my sister was she should be able to clear this up. Nobody's really understanding what's going on. Mass confusion. The autopsy concluded that Anna had been criminally assaulted, which meant raped. Crime reporters concluded that the same person who had killed Donna Gilman was responsible for the murder of Anna Markowitz and maybe Ada Lance. Newspapers led readers to believe that a monster was loose in southwestern Ohio, though the term serial killer had not been coined yet. Jacob and Harry Markowitz were brought to the hospital so that a heavily sedated Cohen could say if either man had shot him, which he denied. But again, he's under anesthesia. He's been in surgery.
In terrible pain.
And they're bringing these two guys hey, is this the dude who shot you?
Is this a guy who you didn't get a good look at in the dark that shot you, dressed all in black? Is this him? And by the way, you're probably going to die. And he probably has very limited, if any, pain meds in him. Oh my gosh.
It's just a shit show, Dylan.
It's like alcohol was all they had for anesthetics back then.
The Markowitz family had to hire an attorney to represent their three children. Theories emerged from the Dayton community. One was that the brothers followed Abe Cohen to the park with the sisters. Cohen raped and strangled Anna, and seeing this, the brothers shot him. The other theory was that Jacob had been responsible for Anna's murder after catching her with Cohen, that the brothers shot Cohen. Things had gone too far with Anna, and she was accidentally killed, meaning that the brother had roughed her up after catching her in some scenario with this man.
This is pure conjecture.
Yes.
I mean, my gosh.
But there was no real proof to go with these theories at all. This is just what they out here saying, Dylan.
Jeez.
The area surrounding McCabe Park became known in the press as Death Lane. Someone carved a skull and crossbones on the beech tree where Anna and Abe had sat together on the night of the murder. Despite public protests that the Markowitz brothers and Bertha were guilty, they were eventually released from custody without charges being filed in time to attend their sister's funeral. The sheriff announced, quote, "We are satisfied that there is not sufficient reason to hold them any longer."
There wasn't sufficient reason to take them into custody in the first place.
Exactly.
Oh, gosh, this is terrible. I mean, it really is.
I know. I mean, it just makes no sense. I don't know what they thought they were accomplishing by taking the sister, who's also a victim in the situation, into custody, and the brothers, who were completely across town and had an alibi, somehow are being accused of murdering their sister.
I've always thought about this. When you're in a situation like this and you have a loved one who's been killed or, assaulted or brutalized or whatever, and you come under the cloud of suspicion for whatever reason, and now you got to worry about that at the same time while you're trying to process and grieve for your loved one.
Yes.
What a terrible predicament.
With no leads and no suspects, the murders in Dayton and in Cincinnati continue to produce fear among women of the community, particularly those who worked outside the home or traveled alone. A suspect emerged when Cassius Rush, a trolley conductor, told detectives a black man had been in the area of McCabe Park on the night of the shooting. He was known as Hike, though his real name was Leighton Hines. Hines worked at the Aetna Paper Company and had no criminal record. He couldn't recall much of an alibi before the evening of August 11th, other than he had been at home with his family. He had not been on the trolley or near McCabe Park.
Man, if they asked me what I did like yesterday or anything, I wouldn't have any answers for them. They would probably take me straight into custody.
Well, while he was being interrogated, police returned to his home and conducted a search with his permission, and they located a .38 caliber revolver, a nice black suit, and pictures of naked white women found inside a trunk.
Oh, God.
Hines, that's his last name. Hike is like what people call him, but Hines is his last name. He eventually admitted to killing Anna and Abe. Hines will later say he was intimidated into falsely confessing to the crime. Disregarding his statements, Hines was still convicted of the double murder, but spared the death penalty. Later, authorities will admit they had doubts about his conviction, and he would eventually be released from jail.
Damn, he's lucky to get let back out. And we can't forget there's pressure on everyone involved to solve this case. And that is the perfect atmosphere or the perfect environment for coerced confessions.
Yes. January of 1909, a 15-year-old named Mary Forshner had joined hordes of children working in factories. Their income, of course, needed to support their families. Mary worked at Kling's Cigar Factory, which was an entry-level job for many young girls in Dayton at the time. Mary had been gifted a garnet ring by her sisters for her birthday, which was expensive but not overly so. She was really proud to show it off to her work friends. She kind of went around the next day showing everyone her new ring.
Yeah.
Bragging.
I bet they talked about her when she left. Like who she thinks she is with that old ring, that old big emerald ring.
It's a garnet.
A garnet. It's green, ain't it?
No.
Oh.
Garnets are like red, baby.
Are they red? Like a ruby?
I'm pretty sure they're like a red
Are you sure?
stone. Well, I don't know. Look it up.
Maybe it's blue. I don't know. Maybe it looked like a topaz.
Maybe you're stupid. I
I don't know my damn semi-precious gems. Damn it.
Mary was described as a capable worker who relished newfound independence. Though she didn't mind the work at Kling's, Mary kept an eye out for other jobs she might be interested in working, things that, might pay a little bit more money, maybe get her out of the cigar factory.
Yeah.
She was ambitious and thought she might like a clerical job where she could dress up nicely.
Yeah, it's called upward mobility, and I appreciate everyone that has it.
Mary came from a large blended family. Her biological father had died when she was quite young. Her mother had remarried a man who had 3 daughters from a previous marriage. Then they added 2 more children. So there were a lot of people living in this house. Neighbors reported there were often fights over money, and because there were 8 women living under one roof, which proved to be trouble at times because the sisters fought over wash basins and the one toilet.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I could see that. We went from 3 bathrooms to 1. Okay, so this is not something that's exclusive to women. I miss my bathroom, and I miss my uninterrupted bathroom time. Okay, and I know you do too. Don't look at me like that.
You're the one that takes the longest to get ready or anything.
Well,
so I'm just staring at you because you're the one. You're the problem.
I don't know what to say. Why can't I be properly coddled in the bathroom, even if I got to coddle myself? Isn't that a word?
I don't.
Coddled? Yeah, I want to be coddled. Yeah. What? You always, what?
I'm firing you.
You can't fire me. Well, you can, because I have no idea how to do any of the stuff you do. All I do is sit here and think.
And say dumb shit.
Well, it's not dumb.
Like you want to be coddled in the bathroom. What does that even mean?
I don't know, but I
you
enjoy
want to
it.
be embraced while you're in the bathroom?
Oh, is that what coddled is?
You want to be...
Maybe I'm coddling myself.
I mean, what is your... Are you sure you're still sober.
Yeah, this is sober Dylan.
This is dumb.
You,
Dylan.
yeah, you won't go ahead and go on public record as saying maybe you should use substances sometimes.
Can I get back to my story without you talking about being coddled on the toilet or whatever you're over here rambling about? It makes no sense. It has nothing to do with our story.
Yes, you can go ahead, but I understand their pain on fighting over the wash basins, okay?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Well, 8 women under one roof fighting over the wash basins.
And let's not forget that they're, they line up. So there could be some bad moods going around at certain times. You know what I'm saying?
You are a bad mood.
But we know that's true. I didn't make that up.
You're enough to put a woman in a bad mood.
Oh, baby, but then I make her happy later when I leave.
Well, there's that. You need to work some overtime.
Oh, I wish.
I do too.
They're stingy
Get out
with
of my
that shit.
face. Now, 4 daughters were helping supplement income while their stepfather worked long hours as a butcher. Mary was tasked with going to the Dayton Savings and Trust Company with $9 to pay on the loan for properties her stepfather had purchased. Mary had done this before and felt quite proud to be trusted with such an important chore. It would also give her the chance to window shop downtown and maybe explore a job opportunity. Mary left the house at 6:15 p.m. and walked 3 blocks from their home to a trolley stop at Webster, where the city's boundary began. Her mother told Mary to come home right after making the deposit, as she was worried about her young daughter being alone after dark, especially with, everything that had been happening.
Yeah, you can't blame her.
Saturday night was a time to be seen in downtown Dayton, as young men dressed handsomely and young women were often spotted wearing their best dresses. Mary was wearing one of her nicest outfits and a hat from her large collection. She had a thing for hats.
Okay.
And she spent a lot of her salary on them, more than she would admit to anyone.
So it's like you in shoes.
Yes. She loved hats. And there were actually a few pictures of her where she's wearing large hats.
So these big ornate hats.
She loved a big hat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was her favorite accessory. Robert left the butcher shop at 8:30 p.m., stopped in for a haircut at the barber shop, which took longer than usual, then had a beer at a local saloon. Arriving home around 10 p.m., he was greeted at the door by his wife, asking if he had seen Mary. Robert assured his wife that Mary had likely joined her sister Maggie at the Buckeye Club, which was a dance hall for young people downtown. Frederica, Mary's mother, felt ill at ease. Mary was never late. It was beginning to sleet outside as well. Just after midnight, Mary's sister Maggie arrived home in a carriage with her date and 3 other girls. Maggie told her mother Mary had not been with her at the Buckeye Club, but she didn't seem to be too concerned about her sister. I mean, she's just had a great time. She's been out dancing, having fun, so
Right.
her head's not really in the game as far as worrying about where her sister might be.
No, and that's something parents do. You know what I mean?
Frederica woke her husband, Robert, who dressed quickly. He listened to Maggie tell the story of the evening, that Mary had not yet come home and no one knew where she was. Now Robert was troubled. He's got his wife and stepdaughter telling him, we've not seen Mary.
Yeah, and it's getting later and later as they, discuss it.
He tried to make sense of the situation, offering up some different scenarios about where she might be, but of course none of them really made sense, and he knew, he kind of knew, this doesn't really make sense, but maybe she went here, or maybe she's doing this. Just trying to, ease everyone's mind. Finally, Maggie called a friend down the street who agreed to bring a lantern, and they could go search for Mary. Maggie and the friend returned, saying they'd, quote, looked everywhere and could not find Mary. That's when Robert threw on a coat and went to search for his stepdaughter. Half an hour later, he returned, saying he'd had no luck. The trolleys were no longer running, and perhaps Mary was stranded downtown. Robert thought surely that if this was the case, his stepdaughter would have called. He decided to phone the police and report her missing. However, teenagers who were out late on a Saturday night didn't particularly interest the officer who answered the phone, explaining, quote, they all eventually come home.
We've never heard that before.
The officer agreed to alert the night patrol about Mary. So Robert grabs a lantern and goes out searching once again. He returned to say he needed help and then went on to call several neighborhood men who might be able to spread out and offer a better look in case Mary was injured. They could cover more ground.
How is it that cops have literally been saying that for centuries? You reckon in medieval times someone disappeared from the castle, like, oh, they probably run away to another village.
Yes.
Yeah, what the hell?
They'll eventually come back home.
They'll come back home like they never do.
2 friends had become 6, with men asking what they could do to help. So more people are joining the search party. By now, Maggie and her brother Peter had joined the party as well. The group fanned out, retracing the steps that Mary would have taken. Near Webster Street, by the Grafton Kennedy estate, a hat and glove were located. Robert recognized the hat. None of the searchers spoke because everyone feared what they might find next. And like I said, Mary was really into hats. And this was was described as a big brown hat with a brass buckle on it.
Right. And everyone that knows Mary.
Pretty distinct hat.
Everyone that knows her knows she loves the big hats.
Yes.
So the discovery of the hat is making people nervous now because who knows what else they'll see. That's literally what you just said.
Yeah. Yes, Dylan. Thank you for the recap.
You're welcome. I'm like a macaw, like a
You
big
like,
old.
You just break it down in a simple man's terms.
I'm Joe Sixpack. I'm here to let you know what Heather's really talking about. I'm like a big fat sassy macaw. I just repeat what my wife says. I'm a shitbird. Am I a shitbird?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think that to myself at least 3 times a day.
No, I feel like I could have maybe been a shitbird and not hurting anyone else. I just hurt myself, financially, doing dumb shit.
Will you shut up and let me finish this? Okay. See, again, always making about yourself.
Big old.
Now you're going to tell me about the big hat you bought last week.
I don't wear big hats because I have a big head, and that's only going to accentuate that aspect of my body.
I wish hats would make a comeback.
Yeah.
A big fancy hat.
Church
lady hat. I love a big fucking extravagant hat.
They've never went completely away. I mean, some circles, that's
I want a hat that's got like a bird, maybe like a bird and some fruit.
Really?
Yeah, like a Marie Antoinette hat.
You want like a centerpiece hat?
Fuck yeah.
Something.
Like a bell in it.
Oh, okay.
Like my hat has a bell.
Yeah, like I can hear that bitch coming.
It like twinkles when I walk.
Come on, ding-a-ling, bitch.
Yeah. jangly bitch is coming in the house right now.
Who she think he is without that damn bell tower on her head?
I know. That would be fucking awesome. Gosh. We could have maybe a clock. A clock built in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me it's time for her to get another hat. That's all I know. Well, see, look at you. You really want these big hats, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
Ridiculous.
All right, so someone in the crowd tells Robert to check out a broken fence rail and some footprints nearby. They follow the footprints to a barn on this property by this Grafton Kennedy estate. This man, Mr. Morris, his farm kind of backed up to the estate. So they are able to follow these footprints to a barn. There's a gate. It's locked, but they somehow managed to open it and enter the barn. They find Mary lying face down on the dirt floor of the stable, partially covered with sand, as if someone had purposely tried to cover her body up.
Oh my gosh.
Her face, lit by lantern, appeared to be purple and bruised. Her jacket was torn, her dress was a muddy mess, and there appeared to be bloody vomit by her mouth. Robert ordered someone to call the police. She was still warm, but he knew she wasn't breathing. But she was warm to the touch, and so there will be question later about her time of death.
Well, I mean, it had to have been recently,
Well, the coroner wants to say it happened at like 6 to 7 p.m., and this is, after midnight, so.
Oh, yeah, and it's like wintertime, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So a neighbor plodded through the frozen mud 3 blocks away to call the police. Maggie and Peter ran home to tell their mother that Mary had, quote, been hurt real bad. By now, nearly 100 individuals gathered near the barn as police arrived. Chief Alaback, you may remember him from the Dayton Strangler Part 1. He ordered the crowd, please move away from the body. He told people, don't touch anything. He wanted to kind of keep the crime scene integrity since the first 2 crime scenes had been contaminated.
Yeah, quit taking souvenirs. We need to figure out who's killing these poor women.
Well, this warning was futile as the crowd had already trampled any footprints that might be evident. They had already rifled through the barn for any evidence that might be taken as a souvenir.
Oh my God, I was kidding.
Well, you're not funny, Dylan.
Well, these people are out of control with their looky-looing and rubbernecking and their dark tourism, okay? I mean, they don't even let the body get cold, literally, before they're fucking up the crime scene.
Bruises on Mary's neck were a telltale sign of strangulation. By morning, news of the murder was a top headline at the breakfast table. Mary's purse had been located across the road by a telephone pole, which eliminated robbery as a motive. The police visited the Morris home, which was across the street from the crime scene. And as I mentioned, the Morris farm backed up to this estate where her body was found.
Right.
Mrs. Morris heard a scream the night before sometime between 6 and 7 p.m. Mr. Morris thought it was one of their sons who was back from delivering newspapers. When he stepped outside, he saw a man leaning over something in the mud. Mr. Morris confronted the man, asking, like, what are you doing on my property? And that's when the stranger threatened to shoot the homeowner.
Damn.
He was like, get back in the house or I'm going to shoot you.
To which I would answer, okay.
Mr. Morris, he said he went back in to grab a shotgun, and by the time he came back outside, the man was gone. He did find a bank book with cash kind of enclosed in the bank book. And it was on his property, but closer to the street, like down where he saw this man.
Okay.
And, so he gets the bank book. It's belonging to Mary's parents. Remember, she was going to pay the banknote.
Yeah.
A search of Morris's home led them to a pair of muddy boots and corduroy pants, so they arrested him.
These cops will arrest anyone who tries to help.
They will. Mary's family also had a boarder who lived in their home named Charles Snyder. He rented a room in their upstairs. A barber who had been questioned had told police that Snyder had come in to wash his hands on the evening that Mary was murdered, and that they were bloody. Snyder's room was littered with bottles and girly pictures, which the police noted. They placed him under arrest because his alibi had gaps in it.
Okay. Well, I mean, if you're by yourself, it's kind of hard to have firm alibi, wouldn't you say?
Oh, and he was claiming that he didn't have blood on his hands and the barber was just out to get him.
Because of the one time he cut his hair and he said it looked like shit.
I guess.
The barber's like, one day, son, one day, I'll have my comeuppance on you.
So a woman named Mrs. Sheff came forward and claimed that she had gotten off a train car near the same spot where they were able to find Mary's hat, gloves, purse, that same area, and that a man appeared out of the darkness. Afraid, she ran home while the man chased her. She was able to get inside the house and lock the door. Another woman named Mrs. Powers was attacked by a man who attempted to strangle her, but her husband was able to fight off the attacker. She was standing in the doorway of her home when the bold perpetrator appeared and seized her.
Damn.
And then her husband was able to run out of the home and help shoo this guy away. So this all, they believe, happened within just, probably minutes of Mary being attacked.
Wow.
So this perpetrator likely tried to attack other women the same night. 3 more attacks on women happened within 48 hours, right out in the open and in the presence of men. So it was clear that these women were targets of opportunity and that the predator was prowling the streets looking for a victim. So not only did these 2 attacks happen around the same time Mary was killed, but within 48 hours after, more women were claiming to be attacked.
Damn. It's almost like his cooling off period's shortening.
The city of Dayton proposed better lighting in the downtown area, stating that the action would help the image of the city. Women were urged to protect themselves. There were calls for women to keep boxes of pepper in their purses. Umbrellas were also considered weapons of defense. Chief Alabac discouraged women from carrying guns. He was very worried that hysterical women would be out with guns in the street shooting. Random men.
Look, I know it's going to sound crazy, but you just get you a little bottle at Mrs. Dash, and if he tries to grab you, you just blow it in his eyes and say, "How you like that, you son bitch?" But don't get a gun.
No,
Don't.
he did
Whoa,
not
hold
want women
on.
to have guns.
Hold on a second. You can use your umbrella. I remember one time they had it was an active shooter seminar where I worked. And, they give you the whole, you try to run. If you can't run, whatever. And then the final thing's fight, And I was like, well, could we maybe get some more arms? Can we arm security that's here on present already? The system you already have in place. Can you bolster it, make it better, more effective? And they're like, no, that's ridiculous. But, I was like, what are you supposed to fight with? If the active shooter, you can grab a fire extinguisher. And I was like, what is this, a Steven Seagal movie? What the hell are you talking about? Somebody's got a gun and I'm going to have a fire extinguisher, spraying it all over the place and shit, or throwing it at them? What are you talking about?
Look, anything's a weapon if you're properly motivated, Dylan.
Well, we know that you'll kill with anything in arm's reach.
If it's me or them,
Well, if it's me or you,
it's them.
I don't have to fight a guy or any of that. All I got to do is run faster than my coworker.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a bear's chasing us.
That's why you need to do cardio.
Well, back then I'd have been the one dead.
All that weightlifting, but you got to do some cardio, Dylan.
I got wind. I got wind.
You got about 4 seconds of good wind, didn't you?
I got 30. I've all my life had 30 seconds of greatness in me. But then I'm going to have to sit down and smoke a cigarette. But I don't even smoke cigarettes anymore. Man, this is what clean living looks like.
Are we back to talking about you again?
Yep. I guess.
Let's talk about the story instead.
Well, I'm just saying. I don't understand why they don't want women to have guns, but now I'm starting to. Oh, gosh, you're getting the histrionics or something. You're catching it.
I'm curious if they can just take out your voice box. Can they remove so I don't have to listen to you talk?
They do it to dogs.
18-year-old Elizabeth Fullhart lived with her parents in Vandalia, Ohio. She wanted out of her parents' house. John and Amelia Fullhart were poor and frail. They'd become kind of weak, so she's not only having to do the work, but she's having to take care of her parents too. And she's just over it.
That would be a hard life.
Lizzie had been working as a domestic servant, known for her impeccable cleaning, but she had recently gotten a job at the Tippecanoe cigar factory. Lizzie had been dating a guy named Albert Wilkie who lived in Dayton, and she thought they would be married. She planned to move to Dayton so she could get a better job and eventually settle down and raise a family. On December 24th of 1908, Lizzie told her mother she was planning to travel to Dayton to spend the holidays with her aunt and uncle. While there, she wanted to check out some job opportunities. Working in the cigar factory, Lizzie kind of kept a cough that would clear up on the weekends when she wasn't working, but the second she returned to the factory, she would become sick again.
Oh, wow.
Like dust from the cigar factory.
Well, I could imagine it's probably like a, tobacco dust.
She didn't like her hands were always stained.
Yeah.
She smelled like, tobacco and tobacco shit.
And that can, that burns the hair off your arms.
I've heard that.
I've known people that picked tobacco back in the day.
I've heard stories.
And they say it's just like, I guess kind of that brown stuff you'll see.
Yeah, my grandparents, great-grandparents they were tobacco farmers. That was a big part of their cash crop. And, so my grandma, my mom, my aunts, my uncles.
Put the backer up.
Worked the tobacco, and so I've heard stories.
Yeah. It seems pretty...
rough work.
Pretty rough work, yeah.
Instead of staying with her aunt, Lizzie met Albert, and they rented a room together. So they spent Christmas Eve together. No one knew her whereabouts. On Christmas Day, she arrived at her aunt's home. By Monday, Lizzie was out searching for work. She called her mother at 8 p.m. to say she wasn't having much luck finding a job. On Tuesday, December 29th, she went to a few job interviews, including an opening at a rug factory. The manager told her that business would not pick up for another week and that she could return then, and he would hire her.
That was a strip club.
The rug factory?
Yeah, it'd be a great name for a strip club. Don't you think?
Yes.
Okay.
The rug factory. I like it.
I like it too.
When Lizzie left, the manager noticed a tall gentleman with a long coat and a derby hat met her outside the gate. Lizzie planned to fill out a job application and then meet Al afterwards. When Al showed up at her relative's home around 8 p.m., Lizzie wasn't there. He stayed until 9:30 p.m. and expressed that he was worried about her before departing. On Wednesday, December 30th, Lizzie still had not arrived home to Vandalia as she'd promised her parents, so they were quite concerned. They eventually called her aunt's house and learned that Lizzie had not been back since the night before. So she's been missing for, almost 2 days.
Damn.
Right? They call police to report her missing. 2 weeks passed without word from Lizzie. The consensus was that Lizzie had eloped with her boyfriend Al. A few reports had come into police about Lizzie, like she had been spotted around town with a tall woman, and they had gotten their shoes repaired. And they were also seen going into what was called a resort, which basically was a brothel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But the woman, the tall woman, and then the one that was supposedly Lizzie, matched her description, had on the same outfit Lizzie had been wearing that her aunt and uncle had seen her in, that kind of thing. On February 5th, a father and son carpentry team were doing a remodel job on a house on North Jefferson. They wanted to open a cistern outside to get some water. When they did, they found a body inside.
Oh, my gosh.
It was partially wrapped in a gunny sack, the kind used at the A&P coffee purveyor and shipper, which was located just across the alley. The body was stuffed into the sack from head down to the thighs. They could tell the body was female by the clothing. Of course, they phoned the police immediately. Rumors began swirling about Lizzie's death, including that she died from poisoning, an illegal abortion, a drug overdose, suicide, or that she had just fallen in with a bad crowd. There was no notable choking features on the neck to suggest she'd been strangled, and she did not appear to have been beaten either. The skull had no injuries. So just from looking at her, she looked normal, just deceased and in this cistern.
So no telltale signs of beatings and all that.
Yeah.
Like the other victims.
Right. Lizzie's death certificate was signed with the exact date unknown and exact cause of death unknown, probably homicide, inquest pending, it said. An article in the Journal described the dead girl as, quote, a girl whose love drove her to a recklessness which ended in her death. She is Dayton's latest lesson. Victim shamey.
They just said whatever they wanted back then, didn't they? I mean, this is
Yes.
almost worse than it is nowadays. Gosh, they just make stuff up, and it's taken as fact by the public.
So in the days following Lizzie's body being discovered, 2 more attacks were reported, with both victims being able to scream for help and scare the assailant away. It was determined that Lizzie did not die from poisoning. On February 25th, an official inquest began, though her cause of death was still unannounced. Later, they will say on her death certificate that she died from strangulation. Law enforcement tried to say Lizzie's murder was not directly linked to the others, and this did seem to work. Quote, all major cities saw murders committed. These murders were merely a major city's growing pains, one editorial stated.
Yeah. I mean, as the city gets bigger, more people move in, people's gonna get killed. I mean, it's just part of
They
growth.
really did not want to group Lizzie's murder in with the others, because then they would have to admit we do have a problem.
But my gosh, there's been, quite a few of the other murders. I mean, at what point is it just that one more that's going to tip the scales? I mean, you should have already came to that conclusion is what I'm trying to say.
Law enforcement was divided, though, because some believe the murders were committed by one person. A pattern seemed to show a straight line when drawn through the crime scenes, the line passing through the downtown area, following the trolley lines to McCabe and Lakeside Park. So it was almost as if somebody was murdering along the trolley line.
Well, that's interesting.
On Friday, February 4th of 1910, a woman named Bessie Stickford was found barely able to walk. She had been attacked. The assailant had punched Bessie, held a knife to her throat, choked her, and raped the woman inside a synagogue off of Jefferson Street. Later, Bessie will describe the perpetrator as a tall black man with huge hands.
Damn.
She had encountered him at the Canby building where there was a job opening. However, when she arrived, the office was vacant. The janitor told her he would take her to a synagogue where there was a similar job being offered. This man was a janitor, and he said he also worked at the synagogue and that he could take her there and introduce her to the rabbi, help her get a job. Once they arrived, he violently attacked her.
What the hell, dude?
She told police he had a set of keys which he used to unlock the synagogue door. A few phone calls determined the janitor was a man named Smith White. He went by Hick.
Oh, my gosh.
Hick was his nickname.
Okay. Hick White.
Hick White. He was arrested at home, and when they went to arrest him, he was found trying to hide behind the parlor stove.
Okay.
An extra large set of handcuffs had to be used because this guy had ginormous hands.
So this is a black dude with ginormous hands.
Yeah.
Who thinks he can hide behind a parlor stove.
Yes.
Which I'm going to assume is a rather small stove.
Yeah, I'm imagining it's probably like a wood stove, right?
Yeah. Probably like one of those little potbelly stoves.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah?
And I'm like, how are you going to hide behind that?
All they see is these big ass hands sticking out.
Bessie was able to identify her attacker, and White was charged with criminal assault. Frank, Bessie's father, threatened to bring a lynch mob back to take care of White. Chief Alabac tried to alleviate the man's anger by saying the justice system would take care of Smith White. Now, don't do anything too crazy.
Yeah. So he's like, just hold on. We're going to take care of this, basically.
Back in Springfield, which was Bessie's hometown, Frank Stickford tried to rally a mob to lynch White, with people saying that he had gone insane. Like he was running through the streets, knocking on doors, trying to rally people to go to Dayton with him.
Come on, let's go. It's a lynch mob.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing Ice Cube and shit. Like, what's up?
The investigation uncovered that White worked at the Canby building as a janitor and had worked as a synagogue at the synagogue as well as a janitor. The side door at the synagogue was 75 feet from the cistern where Lizzie Fuller had been found the previous year. In 1900, White was arrested for trying to pull a 12-year-old girl through the grandstand seats at the Montgomery Fairgrounds.
Oh, I remember that.
Remember we talked about this in part 1?
Yeah.
In 1902, he was arrested for prying shutters off a property where he had seen a woman sitting alone on a couch. Hick White's picture was printed in the newspaper, which provoked nearly a dozen women to come forward and say he had offered to help them find a job. When he tried to lure them into the synagogue, several of the women sensed something was amiss and fled. White had worked as a train car washer for the Cincinnati-Hamilton-Dayton Railroad line, where a German woman had been sexually assaulted. Unfortunately, her family had left the country before she was able to testify against him. Mentioned this in part 1.
It's all coming to fruition.
A man named William Gooks told police that White had insisted on selling him a cravenet coat, which was reportedly seen worn by this black man on the trolley before the Donna Gilman murder and had been similarly described at the Markowitz crime scene as well. This specific type of coat. So 2 witnesses, 2 different crime scenes have seen the coat, and then this other guy's like, hey, he sold me this coat.
You just randomly ask someone if they want to buy a coat?
The week of April 18th, a grand jury was held. More than 160 individuals, including 60 women, testified that Hick White had aggressively approached their wives, girlfriends, or female friends and offered help finding them a job. Hick White pled not guilty for criminally assaulting Bessie Stickford, but on May 7th, he changed his plea to guilty. He was sentenced to 19 years at hard labor.
Just 19 years?
For the criminal assault on Bessie Stickford.
What? Yeah, but that's rape, basically, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, that's not enough.
Less than 3 years into his sentence, he escaped the Ohio penitentiary. He was not found. 3 more women disappeared or died between 1915 and 1921 in Cincinnati while White was on the loose. An 11-year-old was bludgeoned and raped, while 2 9-year-olds disappeared. On May 8th of 1922, a girlfriend with whom White had been living turned him into police after he left her for another woman. That's when he was finally returned to prison.
So she's okay with everything he's done until he scorns her.
Yes.
And then she dials him
And
out.
how brazen. You're running from the law. You're with this lady, and then you're going to leave her for somebody else?
Gosh.
All while you on the run? You
He's-
out here dating?
Black, what's your job? Black, I'm an escapee. What? You just okay with that?
Instead of looking over your shoulder, you looking for love in all the wrong places?
Black, don't worry, baby. Ain't nobody gonna hurt you unless I do it.
Police were convinced it was White who had murdered Lizzie Fullhart. He was also suspected in the Donna Gilman, the Markowitz, and the Ada Lance murders. Once White was imprisoned for the second time, the crimes dramatically dropped in Cincinnati and Dayton. He was released in 1931 at the age of 71 and lived with his brother in Madisonville, which was a suburb of Cincinnati. And I should also mention that during the murders that were taking place in Cincinnati, the Cumminsville Ripper murders, he had family that lived in that area of Cincinnati and traveled back and forth between Dayton and Cincinnati.
Dude, so this is the guy. You think this is the guy?
I think possibly.
I mean, it sounds like he's certainly a sexual deviant and that he has issues. I mean, it's one thing, you know, especially about them being a black man, you know, how that goes. You know, he could have been being railroaded, but it seems like an awful lot of different cases, different witnesses, you know, different accounts from husbands, boyfriends who have scared this guy away, you know, and stuff like that. And all these different women claiming that he has approached them, either weirded them out, tried to, in their words, lure them somewhere, right? And his very quick to act. The one woman they did get to go to the synagogue with him for a quote unquote job, he instantly attacked her, like he'd been waiting to do this to someone if he could just get him where he wanted him. So I think they may have if he's not the guy, he is one of the guys. You know what I'm saying? He's certainly someone who doesn't mind.
Well, he's certainly a predator.
He's a predator, and he doesn't mind hurting women, which makes him a shitbird. A big old big-winged shitbird.
But it is interesting, as you mentioned, the cooling off period, because there were some pretty significant periods of time that passed without an attack. But then it seems there at the end, whoever the perpetrator was did start kind of attacking close, you know, didn't have such a cooling off period. The attacks were closer together.
Right.
You had 3 within a 48-hour period after one woman's found dead. 3 more women are attacked. So it definitely seems like the perpetrator was like amping things up, right?
They were losing control to their dark passenger.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like Ted Bundy.
So the Dayton Strangler is an unsolved case, but many believe that White was responsible for the murders.
Well, it's one of those cases that either the true killer saw that they had kind of pinned it on someone and either moved away or stopped, which I'm not sure that a person like this can just stop, you know, and just never do it again, or he truly was the perpetrator.
And then I think you have to question whether the attacks in Cincinnati and Dayton were connected, or could it have been 2 separate killers with the same MO?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not blood, you know, beating, brutalizing, and strangling a victim as you're raping them, for lack of a better word. God, it's so terrible. It's not the most original thing. I mean, it's been done a lot by a bunch of different people, you know, and it's not that oddball specific, you know, as far as ritualistic or any kind of you know, taking souvenirs or doing some very specific thing, biting them in a certain place. It's not very it's not as, what am I trying, you know what I'm saying?
Like it doesn't stick out.
It doesn't stand
doesn't have
out.
A lot of unique.
Yes, qualities. It doesn't have enough unique qualities to be like a true MO, because I guess I'm saying a lot of monsters have done this very thing to women, beat them and strangled them and raped them. You know what I'm saying?
Like Ted Bundy.
Well, yeah, but you know, it's not like there's something so different and unique to be like a calling card.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Okay. Do you?
I think so.
Sometimes you know what I mean when I don't even know what I mean.
I think I get it, Dylan.
They get it. You get it out there. You know what I mean. Okay.
A lot of people consider this case or the two cases kind of like America's Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, I could see
because that had been such a major story in the late 1800s. And so a lot of the headlines were calling it like Dayton's Jack.
Everybody
Cincinnati's Jack.
Yeah, I mean that's got to be one of the most notorious crimes ever, maybe top 3, because every area, no matter the time period or decade, has had coined someone the Ripper, right?
The Ripper.
Yeah. Gosh.
All right, Dylan. Well, that has been part 2 of the Dayton Strangler. Thanks for sitting down with me to discuss.
Well, thanks for having me and dealing with me. You know what I'm saying?
Don't forget to stop by our merch store. We still have plenty of awesome things for you there. Check it out. I'm going to drop a link in the show notes. So make sure you go check out the merch store. And if you'd like to join us at patreon.com/mountainmurderspodcast, you can support the show that way. And if you'd like a free way to support the show, you can always leave us a 5-star review, hit subscribe, go follow us on YouTube, listen to the show there.
Yes, thank you very much.
We're on the verge of being able to monetize on the YouTubes.
Yeah, go check it
out.
out.
Make that happen.
Check it out. And I'd like to thank today's sponsors for their generous donations there on the Patreons, and we hope they enjoy all the extra content. And matter of fact, I believe we might lay one down next.
Thank you, Beth, Buffy, and Fancy Pants.
I can remember Fancy Pants and Buffy. Beth, no offense. I couldn't remember you. Thank you, Beth, Buffy, and Fancy Pants. And Heather's cranking out some great content and for just exclusively for the patrons. So yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, mushmouth bitch.
I'm tired.
Bye, Dylan.
Bye.